All right, let's talk about something we've probably all felt. You've built a retrieval augmented generation system, a RAG system. You've fed it your knowledge base, you've tweaked your prompts, and you're waiting for that spark of genius. But instead, you get nonsense. It is so frustrating, right? Well, the good news is there's a method to the madness. Welcome to your diagnostic journey. First, let's just take a step back and remember why we're all so excited about RAG to begin with. This is the promise, right here in this quote. RAG is supposed to be the thing that tethers our large language models to reality. It's meant to stop them from just making stuff up and to actually show their work by linking to sources. This is the dream, reliable, trustworthy AI. But when that dream system starts spitting out garbage answers, it can feel like a total nightmare to debug. You've got all these moving parts, the retriever, the ranker, the LLM, the prompts. Where in the world do you even begin to look for the problem? You start right here. You start with a map. Instead of just randomly poking at things, changing a prompt here, tweaking a model there, we need a framework. And luckily, some recent research gives us a really clear, structured way to diagnose exactly what's going wrong. So, here's the absolute key insight. Every single RAG system, I don't care how complicated it is, it can be broken down into just two fundamental stages. And figuring out which of those two stages is the source of your failure, well, that unlocks the entire diagnostic process. It's a simple idea, but it is so powerful. And here they are, stage 1 retrieval. This is all about finding the right needles of information in the giant haystack that is your knowledge base. And stage 2, generation. This is where the LLM takes those needles of info and actually tries to knit them into a coherent answer. So the first question we have to ask is the problem finding the info or is it using the info? Okay, so let's start with retrieval. Before you go and blame the fancy LLM for giving you a bad answer, you have to be 100% sure you gave it the right stuff to work with in the first place. Is the correct information even making it to the model? So, we're going to start with the most basic check of all. You might even laugh at how simple it is, but you'd be surprised how often this is the problem. Before you touch a single line of code, just ask yourself, does the answer to this question actually exist anywhere in my documents? If it doesn't, the system can't just invent it. The fix is obvious. Go add the missing information. All right, so you've confirmed the information is in there somewhere, but you're still getting bad answers. The next likely culprit is your ranker. See, your system only retrieves a handful of documents, maybe the top 5, maybe the top 10. We call that the top K. If the perfect answer is buried in document number 50, but your ranker only shows the top 10, the LLM will never even see it. The solution here is to retrain that ranker, using real human feedback to teach it what's actually important. Now, this one is a bit more subtle, a little sneaky. Research has shown that even with these massive context windows we have now, LLMs tend to pay more attention to stuff at the very beginning and the very end of the text they're given. Any information buried right in the middle can kind of get lost. So if the answer is technically being retrieved but it's getting ignored, you need to play around with how you're chunking your documents and how much context you're actually sending to the model. So if you've gone through all those checks in part 1 and you're confident that the right information is being found and passed to the LLM, well then your problem has to be here, in the generation stage. The LLM has all the right ingredients, but it's messing up the recipe. This is a classic one. The answer is sitting right there in the context, clear as day, staring the model in the face, but it just doesn't pull it out. This usually happens for two reasons. Either the context is noisy, it has a bunch of distracting or even contradictory info, or your prompt just isn't specific enough. So the fix is twofold. Clean up your data and sharpen your instructions. Oh man, have you ever felt this pain? You get a brilliant answer, but it's not the JSON you specifically asked for. This happens all the time. Turns out LLMs are much better at doing one thing at a time. If you ask it to solve a complex problem and format it perfectly in the same breath, it can get confused. So the fix is beautifully simple. Separate your concerns. Get the correct answer first, then make a second, simpler call to just handle the formatting. Sometimes the problem isn't the model at all. It's the question. A super vague query like, tell me about cars, is naturally going to get a super vague answer. The trick here is to guide the user. You can show them example questions, or you could even get clever and use another LLM behind the scenes to rewrite their vague question into something much more specific and answerable. And our final failure point. The user asks, what's the summary of document A, B, and C? And the model only tells you about document A. Just like with formatting, models can get overwhelmed by too many instructions at once. The solution? Break it down. Turn that one big, complex question into 3 simpler questions behind the scenes. Then stitch the answers together for the user.
So we've walked through the 7 most common failure points. But the real lesson here, the thing to really take away, isn't just a technical checklist. It's about a fundamental shift in how we need to think about building these AI systems.
This first takeaway from the research is huge. You have to let go of the idea that you can build a perfect, bulletproof RAG system on day one. It's a myth. A good, robust system isn't something you design from the start. It's a quality that evolves over time through constant testing, feedback, and improvement. And this builds right on top of that last point. All your benchmarks and your offline tests are great. They're useful, but they will never, ever capture the messy, unpredictable reality of what real users are going to ask. The only way to truly validate your system and to find its hidden weak spots is to watch it in action, out in the wild. So let's put it all together. The old model of build, test, deploy, and you're done just doesn't apply here. Building a RAG application is a lot more like gardening than it is like building a bridge. It needs constant attention. You have to weed out bad data, prune your prompts, and refine it based on what you see happening in the real world. It's a living system. And that leaves us with a really fascinating thought to end on. If our job is to constantly refine these systems with real-world feedback, diagnosing their failures and showing them the right way, are we still just engineers? Or is our role slowly shifting to become something more like a teacher, patiently guiding this incredibly powerful but still imperfect student?